parade has already started up Fifth Avenue. Began about 11:20 this morning. We have it here on our station, My9, and stations all across the country. And we're proud to be a part of the Veterans Day Parade, saluting the men and women in the military.
Those who have served and those who are serving right now. One of those who is serving right now is the Deputy Secretary of Defense, the #2 man in the Pentagon. Joins us in the booth, Ashton Carter. Mr. Secretary, welcome.
It's great to be here.
What are your thoughts today on Veterans Day?
Well, I mean, Veterans Day is always very special, but this one is very special in two ways. The first is, of course, it comes in the wake of Hurricane Sandy, and for us in the Department of Defense, that signified the kind of ethic that you saw here in New York that brought Americans together, which we feel especially animates the military as an institution. And we had the opportunity to help out and for the country to see that the military, even in the circumstance here at home, a storm, not just Afghanistan, not just Iraq, not just terrorism, but that we have something to offer. So that's something special. The other thing that's special is that this is the 50th anniversary of the beginning of the Vietnam War. And I think we're all mindful that when that generation of veterans came home, they didn't get the welcome they deserved. Paul, his generation, he spoke of that earlier today, didn't get the welcome that they deserve. So here's an opportunity to say to those veterans of Vietnam, maybe for the first time for some of them, on behalf of all of us, certainly on the part of the Department of Defense, welcome home at last, welcome home. And we need to do for them and all veterans to come the right thing, which is to help them resettle in our country and be the incredible leaders and incredible contributors they can be. And it's important to remember that at this time in history, because the era of Afghanistan and Iraq is coming to a close, and we're entering a new strategic era, and a lot of people are coming home with experience, some of them coming home with wounds, and we need to make sure that for this generation we don't do what happened to the Vietnam generation.
Could you describe a little for our viewers of the programs that you're doing to help these returning servicemen and women to transition out? Because we obviously see the reduction in force coming, and the question is, what are we doing to help them be ready for employment?
First thing is to start them while they're still in service, not just right at the end, with what we call transition assistance, which means starting them thinking, what might be next for me? How do I explain the incredible skills I have developed as a member of the military and explain them to civilian employers, translate that into their terms? How do I think about which kind of future I want? Do I want to work? Do I want to start a business? Do I want to get further education? You need to start that well back in a service member's career. So that's the first thing. Second thing is to accelerate the transition process, particularly the processing of benefits, which these people deserve, and they deserve them promptly. And I got to tell you, I can't tell you as I sit here right now that the way that we do that with Veterans Affairs is the way it ought to be done. We're working very hard to improve that. So that's the second thing. Third thing, mental health. I think we have the scientific basis now that we didn't have in the Vietnam era, the Korea era, the World War II era, and all the way back to shell shock in World War I, not only to understand the hidden wounds of war, but to destigmatize them so that people understand that getting help is a reflection of strength, not of weakness. And second of all, we're getting a better scientific basis for actually providing that help.
We've done that. We have destigmatized PTSD, haven't we? My sense in the military that it's understood that it happens, it can happen in combat, and when folks come home, there's no one pointing fingers at somebody who seeks help in the military anymore.
That's absolutely right. You can't be sure that not in some corner it still lurks. But by and large, I experience it. I'll talk to a soldier in Afghanistan Afghanistan, in the hospitals there, or when they come home, and you ask them, you know, what happened and what's going on with you, and they have no problem saying right next to loss of an arm or something, I have PTS. That's another issue for me I need to work on.
So you're the #2 guy at the Pentagon. So whenever the top guy goes on vacation, you're the Secretary of Defense.
That is true.
That seems like a very cool gig.
Well, you know, it's great to work for, first of all, Secretary Panetta, who's a wonderful guy, incredibly skilled, decades of experience, and warm and great. And then second, you know, what institution to be a part of? What greater institution than our Department of Defense?
I'm going to ask you for some classified information. When did you find out about bin Laden? When did you find out that compound was under surveillance?
Let's see. I was at that point not in this job. I was Undersecretary of Defense for acquisition. I was the top buyer. So, well, no, I had to move certain things around, and I knew something was going on.
No kidding.
But I wasn't deputy then. And in the deputy job, you actually participate more in those operations.
Ashton Carter, Deputy Secretary of Defense, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you all.
Thank you
very much
Thank you for all
covering
you do.
this wonderful parade.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
And, you know, we should mention that, you know, the heads of our police department and fire department are military men.
That's right.
That's true. Sal Casano, well, my father, Ray Kelly, Marine, and Sal Casano, I believe, served in the Army.
That's right. You're not going to hold that against him, are you?
No, it's
Sal Casano right now, our fire chief.
Yes, our commissioner, right? Rosanna, Greg, and yes, Sal Casano. So they were just asking the question. Now, you are our veteran, and you were in the Army, is that right?
Army, Vietnam veteran, 1965 to 1967.
That's pretty, I mean, and this is the 50-year anniversary.
50-year anniversary honoring of all of us that have come home. We didn't get such a great reception 50 years ago.
It was a completely different atmosphere when you came back, right?
Yeah, a little different, but we've ensured that anybody that's come back from Operation Iraqi Freedom and is getting what they deserve. We are taking care of them.
So what's this parade? What do you think it means to New York City and really the entire country? Because we're actually being seen in 10 different cities across the country, but I mean, it's really a nationwide sort of thing, right?
Absolutely, it's nationwide, and I think it shows to all of our veterans and any branch that you serve that we haven't forgotten your service. And we're able to be out here today because of the freedoms that so many people sacrifice for. Freedom isn't free.
Exactly, and so when folks go out and fight for the country, they come back, they need employment, and the FDNY, now you told me, what's the percentage of folks that come back?
10% of our job are veterans.
Wow.
Yeah, and they're still out there. We have a lot of active reservists that are serving right now, and we haven't forgotten them. We send them packages and notes and goodies.
You take care of your people, and you've had a busy last couple of weeks with the last two storms, the Nor'easter and Sandy, so what's that been like with the FDNY and everything that's been going on?
A wild storm. We had so many of our members that were working that night who knew their homes were being affected.
Right.
They were still there on the front lines, making some amazing rescues. That story still hasn't been told. We have so many things that happened in all 5 boroughs that night that people haven't heard about yet. But they will, because the heroics by our EMTs, firefighters, paramedics, and fire officers was tremendous. Saved hundreds and hundreds of lives.
Absolutely. Well, Commissioner Sal Casano, I want to thank you very much for your service and your continued service. Yes, absolutely. Happy Veterans Day to you. The 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War, and we're still here supporting you. All right, folks, we're going to be back with more. Right now, we're going to send you to...
I came home and I thank God for the GI Bill of Rights because it enabled me to go to college. It was a very important thing in my life. I don't know if I ever could have done it if I didn't have the GI Bill.
Training is about more than muscle. It's about inner strength. So I push myself. That's why I serve in the United States Coast Guard. I train with the best. A team that shares my drive and commitment. We collect intelligence, guard our shores against drug smugglers, and keep our waterways safe, because our nation expects more.
If you expect more, maybe you were born ready. Find out at GoCoastGuard.com.
Even an Iraq vet like me who's in really good shape needs good health care, especially when it's top quality and convenient. And it's not just for men. In fact, aren't you a vet, Patricia?
Yeah, I served in the Air Force.
So why not come in today? When you check in, you'll get a full medical exam, first thing. Free for vets at the VA. So check us out and see you here.
Life in the military is one of service and sacrifice. And for some, that sacrifice is more than many of us can imagine. Please join with the American Legion in recognizing and supporting our wounded warriors and their families. Let's not allow them to be forgotten and left to fend for themselves. They deserve more. Sometimes just thank you isn't enough. Go to legion.org/honor veterans to find out how you can help.
City sidewalks, busy sidewalks, dressed in holiday style. In the air, there's a feeling of Christmas. Silver bells.
I'm Chuck Scarborough. Right now, thousands of people in the tri-state area need warm coats. Please give your used coats to the New York Cares Coat Drive.
In the city.
America's Air Force is proud to stand united with the people of New York City and our nation in honoring the veterans who have served as our country's sword and shield. We pay tribute on this Veterans Day to the men and women who have sacrificed so much for our country, protecting the homeland and defending our way of life. On behalf of our airmen, I thank all Americans for the unwavering support that you give to our veterans and their families each and every day.
Welcome back to New York City, 5th Avenue, right in front of the Public Library for the 2012 Veterans Day Parade.
It is a glorious 60-something degree day. I mean, in the last 2 weeks, the New York area has had a hurricane. We've had a nor'easter. And now today we are celebrating with 60-something degree temperatures.
That nor'easter was something else.
You're making fun of my accent.
My Brooklyn girl, Rosanna Scotto. Rosanna, this is just...
I'm a civilian among wonderful people in the military. Of course, Captain Paul Buca here, a Medal of Honor recipient.
Thank you.
And a Marine, a tough guy, and my former host of Good Day New York.
And what's the opposite of a Medal of Honor recipient? Sir, thank you so much. Good to see you. Real quick, your thoughts overall on New York City and veterans. You know, New York is not perceived as a military town, but in a way that's wrong.
It's a military town in the most extraordinary sense. This is where, before Vietnam, everybody left to go to Europe. These docks and piers here where troop ships come and the Liberty ships docked and got loaded up in the Lee of the Lady over in Jersey City in New York Harbor. And we forget that rich history of sending troops and then bringing them home and then bringing all the dependents home when the wars were over and things. It's just a special place. But even more importantly, this is the only city that could throw the United States of America nation's Veterans Day Parade.
The biggest Veterans Day Parade in the nation.
And in 10 different other cities around the land as well.
Let's go to our special correspondent, Elise Zwick, on the parade route with a special guest. Hello, Elise.
Hey, Greg. Thank you. I'm here with the Assistant Vice Chief of Staff of the Air Force, Lieutenant General Frank Gorins, and Staff Sergeant Sanford. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us today, and thank you for your service.
I'm happy to be here.
Can you tell us a little bit about what Veterans Week in New York City has meant to you and what you've been involved in?
Well, I think for a couple things, it's always great to recognize all of the veterans, you know, from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, through the modern age. But I think it's particularly poignant to be in New York, given the events of the past 3 weeks, with all of the things that are happening in the New York area, and the damage that the storm has caused, and of course the DoD response to that has been substantial. We're happy to do it, and so I think it's particularly wonderful that New York has been able to actually execute this parade on time, and it says a lot about the grit of the New York people and the New Jersey people.
Absolutely. Well, talk a little bit about what the Air Force has done.
Initially, we're always poised to bring in equipment not just from the local area, but certainly from all parts of the country. And so our Air Mobility Command was poised and ready and executed many missions to bring the proper equipment to New York. So that allows the rest of the country to rally to help the Northeast area.
Thank you so much. Now, tell us a little bit about your service and how you feel being here with us today.
Being it's my first time in New York, I'm truly humbled to be here and be part of this. It's a great city and a great nation, and to see our veterans from the past get the direct respect and recognition they deserve, it's great, and I hope that my generation can carry this on for years to come.
Well, thank you, gentlemen. We're truly honored to have you with us here today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to you, Rosanna, Greg, and Paul.
Thanks so much, Elise. We are watching a special tribute to the Korean War. Paul Buca, sometimes called the coldest war.
Correct. And also a forgotten war. Those were the first veterans to come home when people didn't seem to care. And one of their Medal of Honor recipients, Scooter Burke, went around the Indianapolis 500 Oval with me in a car. 500,000 people cheered for him. He said, now I've had my parade. He didn't feel well. We put him back at the hotel. He caught a flight home, passed away the next morning. But he had waited and waited and waited as a Korean War veteran to have people say thank you.
Well, their legacy is strong, right?
Tremendous. And just think of we forget about it, but the Koreans have gone to war with us ever since we went to war for them. And they stand strongly with us. And I think they are a tremendous ally that we can always count on. And they've taught us a lot. They've taught us a lot about our need to adjust to foreign cultures and things like that. And they serve with us. So excellent group of people.
There are over 20,000 participants in this parade today. And they're saying maybe over 600,000 people watching. Does that include on TV, or is that just on the sidelines?
Up and down the route. We have, I would say, yeah, about 500,000 plus. This is very popular, and it's worked out that it's on a Sunday this year.
It's on a Sunday, and the weather, this could be the Easter parade.
It really could be.
It's the kind of day you wake up, you put a coat on, but you probably don't need it, but then you're walking around, you have no place to put it.
Well, this is good because today New York Cares is accepting coats along the parade route. Do you know that?
So if it gets too warm,
you can give them your coat and donate.
You can give them your coat, yes, you can.
And donate, because they say this year the need for coats are going to be really extraordinarily large. And I guess maybe they're also including the aftermath of Hurricane Sandy. Lots of people lost everything in that hurricane 2 weeks ago in our area.
Well, it's nice. The veterans have always made it their mission in life, if you will, is to serve the country and serve others. And it's just wonderful to see them coming to a Veterans Day parade, which is about them, and they're saying, no, it's about us.
A delegation from the United States Air Force. And Paul, tell me this. Sometimes I'm asked by civilians, why do we need separate branches of the armed forces? Why not just have one great big one?
Well, that would be typical for a Marine to ask. Because the Marine have always said that they are a unified force that has their own planes, ships, infantry, and everything.
This is true.
I think the real problem is that these missions now are so interrelated that even though we have a different force that takes different skill sets, like flyers versus infantrymen, they operate hand in hand. You can't find an operation, be it the Osama bin Laden operation, that special ops one, or just the massive undertakings that we do that doesn't have Air Force, Coast Guard, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, all working together as one force.
All right, if you're watching this at home and you still want to contribute to the New York Cares Coat Drive, we want to let you know that it will be going on through December 31st. And all you have to do is bring your gently used coat to one of many police precincts in our area, in the New York area. Also, several library branches in the New York Public Library will also be accepting donations.
Stay with us for continuing coverage of the 2012 Veterans Day Parade in New York City.
From the crew of Coast Guard Cutter Birdtop, patrolling Arctic and Alaskan water. Happy Veterans Day!
I was in South Korea, I was in Germany, I was in Iraq. I think the hardest transition as you get further in the military is you know it's going to end one day. And that's why I'm doing the job I'm doing now at Chase, helping them hire veterans through the 100,000 Jobs mission. Because Chase understands if you want an organization that's going to grow, that has a basis in ethics, and get the engine running again in America, why wouldn't you want to hire the veteran?
Chase is proud to help 100,000 veterans find jobs at home.
The Institute for Veterans and Military Families at Syracuse University is dedicated to leveraging the resources of higher education in support of America's veterans and their families. Through our focus on research, employment, and educational programming, we develop tools to assist policy leaders, employers, and veterans themselves. Thousands of veterans have directly benefited from our work, and we're just getting started. Visit vets.syr.edu to learn more about our efforts and how you can get involved.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Recker. I was in the Air Force Reserves. I just wanted to say thank you for all that you do.
I serve as a specialist in the U.S. Army and the U.S. Army National Guard. I would like to thank all of our veterans.
I'm an Operation Iraqi Freedom veteran, and I'd like to thank all the brave men and women serving overseas.
As a Navy veteran, I would like to give a big thank you to all the vets.
To the men and women of the Armed Forces, we salute you. Salute!
You all, saluting those who serve.
Five oceans. 7 continents. Whatever it takes. Wherever it takes us. America's Navy. A global force for good.
I'm a U.S. Army veteran, and I'm very proud to be participating in this year's Veterans Parade. It means a lot more because there's a lot more veterans coming home. I'm thankful for participating, and God bless these veterans coming home.
Michigan City Soul Steppers. Check them out.
I like it. And we welcome home all our veterans from every war. Well, we're kind of highlighting the Vietnam War today. We have with us Captain Paul Buca, who actually served in Vietnam.
Yes, I did.
Tell us about your experience there.
Well, it was interesting. I came from Stanford University, where I've been getting my MBA, and I was assigned to the 101st Airborne. And we were then commingled as a new division and sent over to Vietnam together, which was a very rare thing. Normally, Vietnam veterans went over individually on planes and were fillers, if you will. We got there, we had our own area of operation. But what was interesting, because we were the last division being sent over, we got what many people considered to be the dregs, the leftovers. In my particular unit, 60–70% of them had stockade time. Others had very unusual degrees like Elizabethan literature. They were the speechwriters for the generals and things. And when they went overseas, people said, they're the losers. And this group, my company, which I'll use as an example, went on to be one of the most highly decorated units in the entire Vietnam War. What the public judged as losers proved that they were not only winners, they were the winners of all winners. And all through Vietnam, those stories exist. And when we think of this myths of the war, that these are all draftees, they were all minority, and no, this was a war fought by men and women who reflected the demographics of our society.
Paul, as we watch the Vietnam veterans go by, this is being billed as the 50th anniversary of the start of the Vietnam War. I mean, honestly, I never thought of the Vietnam War as having a clear-cut beginning. If you see the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C., I think the casualties start in the late 1950s.
Yes.
Why the effort to mark 1962 as the beginning of the Vietnam War?
I think the initiative is for every war, everyone wants to know, when did it start? Even in these wars we're in now, when did the war in Afghanistan start? It started in 9/11. The question will be, when will it end? And we'll have that dragging out. Whereas we had in Vietnam a beginning in the Eisenhower years. I think we should watch this group go by.
As a matter of fact, while the music goes by, let's throw to Mike Woods. He's got a special guest.
All right, Greg, yes, we have a very special guest. We have Pat Toro with the Vietnam Veterans Association. And I'll tell you what, Pat, this is the 50th anniversary Vietnam Veterans of America. And this is the 50th anniversary. What's this mean to the Vietnam vets?
Well, I mean, to me, it's surprising that I've lasted this long, but it's nice to see
that the newer veterans, the veterans from the Iraq, Afghanistan, and so forth, are getting the recognition that they deserve, the recognition that unfortunately we didn't get. But hopefully this nation has learned something, and in the 50 years since the Vietnam War, they've learned that the veteran fights the war. It doesn't have anything to do with how we got there.
Exactly. Now I noticed that the veterans that just passed, the veterans from Vietnam, they were kind of rowdy. Is that pretty much the case every year?
We have a tradition that we have to keep, okay? We have to keep the fact that we've been rowdy. I think a lot of that goes to they understand what's going on. Some of us have been able to go on. Just to give you a quick story, when I got out of the Marine Corps in '71, shortly thereafter, I went into law enforcement. Okay. And up until that time, I was having the dreams like everybody else. And also the confrontations with people who were saying the things about us when we came back.
The negative things. Okay.
Right. So I got into law enforcement, I got into my life. And then when I retired from law enforcement, I suffered from Agent Orange. The effects of Agent Orange. When I retired in 1991, what happened was they came back. So I started having the nightmares come back, and then I went on to and got involved with the Vietnam Veterans of America, and the nightmares went away. So
wow, so it really helped you out.
Yeah, it's almost like having your own I don't know, counselor, if you want to say that or whatever. Okay. But as far as the 50th, look, we're here. A lot of us are suffering from a lot of ailments coming out of that war, especially Agent Orange, and we're still trying to make sure that the newer generation of veterans doesn't go through what we do. And
so they have to be taken care of.
Yes, as long as we're alive, as long as we can keep pushing, or as long as this Marine can keep pushing, that's not going to happen.
Very good, Pat Toro. Thank you so much, and happy anniversary.
Thank you.
It's great to see you, and thanks for coming out here and enjoying the parade. The rest of the day, it's all about you and the rest of the vets.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll be right back.
From the U-Haul team to our nation's military families, happy Veterans Day.
I'm Gary Sinise. You may know me as Lieutenant Dan from the movie Forrest Gump or as the bass player in the Lieutenant Dan Band. I've had the honor to meet many of our soldiers and veterans. It's a sad fact that some of our warriors, some of our nation's finest citizens, are wasting their lives through suicide. Suicide is not the answer. It's final. It robs you of your chances for a better life and brings pain and heartbreak to your loved ones. You don't have to go it alone. VA cares about you. VA is reaching out to veterans who are thinking about suicide. So reach back now. Don't wait. Call 1-800-273-TALK and press 1. Our counselors will not share your information with anyone. Thousands of veterans have had the courage to call. How about you? Call 1-800-273-TALK and press 1.
History's full of wars that are fought for 100 different reasons. I have to believe that it's all worthwhile because our cause is just.
City sidewalks, busy sidewalks, dressed in holiday style. In the air, there's a feeling of Christmas. Silver Bell.
I'm Chuck Scarborough. Right now, thousands of people in the tri-state area need warm coats. Please give your used coats to the New York Cares Coat Drive.
In the city.
Born in 1790 as the Revenue Cutter Service, the United States Coast Guard has protected America's home shores for over 2 centuries. Throughout the 19th century, it prevented slave trafficking, protected American merchant ships, and rescued vessels in distress. In World War I, experienced Coast Guard personnel served on Navy vessels, helping bring the Navy up to wartime strength. Coast Guardsmen played an active combat role in World War II, particularly in support of amphibious operations. Signalman Douglas Monroe received the Medal of Honor for his actions at Guadalcanal, where he gave his life while rescuing Marines stranded behind enemy lines. And in Europe, dozens of Coast Guard craft took part in D-Day, the invasion of Normandy. Coast Guardsmen and vessels deployed to Korea and Vietnam, providing navigation and signal support and carrying out rescue and coastal interdiction missions. Today, as part of the Department of Homeland Security, the Coast Guard continues to play a vital role in ensuring the security and safety of America's coastlines and waterways. Its unofficial motto, "You have to go out, but you don't have to come back," reflects its commitment to its mission, no matter what the risk.